And I'm Mary Dillon. I'm the chair of the Economic Club of Chicago, and we're all joining today to hear from our speaker, Ari Emanuel, founder and CEO of Endeavor. For a man who's considered to be one of the, if not the most successful executive in Hollywood, Ari Emanuel thinks a lot about failure. He has said, failure for me is not doing something and failing. Failure would be not doing it. And I have never learned anything when I've been successful. I've only learned things when I've failed. The son of a Jerusalem-born pediatrician father and social activist mother, Ari and his brothers, Zeke and Rahm, were raised right here in Wilmette in a competitive pack where school did not come easy to Ari. He was diagnosed with ADHD and dyslexia in 3rd grade. Ari's struggle to learn to read was only outpaced by his mother's relentless efforts to teach him. A product of New Trier High School and a computer science and economics double major at McAllister College in St. Paul, Ari did a short stint after graduation as a professional racquetball player before landing, yes, in the mailroom at Creative Artists Agency, CAA. So a lot happened between there and later when he founded Endeavor Talent Agency in 1995. He was a partner at Intertalent before that and senior agent at ICM Partners. In 2009, Endeavor merged with the William Morris Agency and became Endeavor Group Holdings. So currently, the publicly traded sports, entertainment, and content agency has a market cap of more than $12 billion, 7,000 employees, and 12 different lines of business, from talent representation to content production and live events ranging from UFC to Fashion Week. I like to see those smashed together. When the pandemic prohibited UFC matches in the US, Ari, ever nimble, and his team at Endeavor created Fight Island at Abu Dhabi and became virtually the only sports broadcasting all over the world to sports star fans. Now, his famous clients are too many to mention, but I will mention a few. Oprah, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, Peyton Manning, Miley Cyrus. But the character he's probably best known for is of that fictional super agent Ari Gold in the HBO series Entourage, which I'm sure we've all seen, which he not only inspired but sold to HBO. It has been reported that Ari makes 300 phone calls a day. I'm sure his family can attest to that. And he's been described as relentless, tenacious, and willing to break glass. But most importantly, willing to risk failure. It has clearly served him well. First of all, I have to say, in Ari's defense, he's the only one who didn't get the memo about the sneakers, or didn't believe people who told him that he could wear sneakers. So,
well, I'm glad we're changing this place. It's a little bit fuddy-duddy, but now you guys are hip and cool.
Well, first of all, I just have to say thank you for being here tonight. And, you know, it is very special for us in Chicago to have you here. And if you don't mind, I did reach out to your brother today, who got back to me like that.
Which one?
Rahm.
Okay.
Rahm, the only one I really know. And I said, so my interview tonight is with Ari. Thanks again for helping us twist his arm.
It's really is Michael Sachs here? Michael Sachs was the one that called.
Yes.
He's like the fourth brother, so I would do anything.
Yes, Michael, right. So I said, what kind of grief can I give him from you? And here's what he said: whatever. We shared a room growing up. Our birthdays are 16 months apart to the day, which, by the way, in my world, we call that Irish twins. So 16 months apart to the day. And we talk almost every day. No grief is too much for him.
That's sweet.
So we'll start there. How's that?
That's good.
Anyways, well, seriously, I'd love to just start learning about your personal story. And then, of course, we'll talk about Endeavor and the industry. And there's just so much to cover. So, but I met you a few years ago. You were at the Microsoft CEO Summit, and you and both your brothers were on stage. I don't know if that's the first or only time.
Only time.
Only time. And it was really fascinating. It was such a treat for the audience to see the three of you lined up and hear all of you, hear your stories, and just see what you're all
the funny thing about that is we went immediately to how we grew up. So it was dominated by Zeke, then Rahm pushed in, and not that I'm a wallflower, but I became the wallflower in that relationship. But that was actually the first time we did it. It was actually very fun.
It was really cool. It was very special. So maybe what we can start with is talk about your upbringing. You know, obviously your family, your parents cultivated three very driven sons, and would just love to know, like, maybe what was a typical family dinner like for you guys? And what is it in your family, your upbringing, your parents that drove you each and you to have the kind of drive that you have?
Well, you know, I've been asked this question before. I think my brothers have been asked the question before. My parents were pretty strict as it relates to our education. They were pretty liberal as it relates to keeping us on a schedule. There was no requirements that we had to be here, there, and all the things that I think now happen with today's parents. And that permitted us to kind of just go out and discover, fail, and do whatever. So there wasn't any of that. It was very competitive because we had 3 boys, very close in age. Mm-hmm. In the education area, my brother Zeke was, a lot higher than all the rest of us. And my mom made it a point that if we didn't get good grades, we were grounded. So it was very competitive in that. We all worked very, very hard to do that. But they were actually pretty liberal as it relates to our kind of social interaction. And they didn't require us being at certain places. And they always, we traveled by ourselves with our mother. We hung out when we went to Israel every summer. And there was whole afternoons that we were just by ourselves having to kind of entertain ourselves. And I think that permitted us to kind of grow up and be curious, because you had to figure out what you had to create your own entertainment, create your own lives. And so with those 2 backings, and, my father, he worked exceedingly hard. And just by osmosis, you realize that hard work mattered. And so with that kind of combination, I think the 3 of us had a pretty good upbringing.
All that free time, you didn't get in trouble. You got crazy.
Oh, no, we definitely got in a lot of trouble. Yeah, but we did it together, and it created the bond between the 3 of us.
And Zeke's the only one who went into medicine. Was there a lot of pressure? Again, he was the oldest. He was that studious.
Well, I think it was like one was going to be in medicine, one was going to be politics, one was going to be in entertainment. It would be really bad if we went into it. There would be really a lot of fights.
That would not be good. So were you your mom's favorite? Do you think? That's a leading question.
I don't really know. You're going to have to ask her. I don't think so.
I was hoping she'd be here and I could ask her.
No,
would she tell me who her favorite was?
No, she wouldn't. I love them all equally. So she would lie to you. Yes.
Okay, perfect. That's what we all do as mothers, exactly. So let's stay on the topic of growing up. And there's a quote, you've been very public about dyslexia and about ADHD. I know this was a long wait tonight to even get started, but I read something you said about how, and I imagine this is really important to you, that you're public about this. I read you said, I wanted young people to know it can be a gift, providing them with insight to find inventive solutions in life and in business that others might not find. But I'm sure it wasn't always that easy. It's kind of incredible that you had the college, education and accomplishments that you did, and of course went on to do much more. But maybe you can talk a little bit about how dyslexia has shaped your life and your worldview and how you've overcome the challenge.
Well, when you're dyslexic and you're at a very young age, and I have 3 boys that are dyslexic, my daughter's here, Ashley, you have to figure out different ways to learn. And you have to use people's help in a different manner. And if you look at the stats, you're either successful or you get in a lot of trouble. And the good thing is when you're dyslexic, when you're a young kid, you're embarrassed a lot because people think you're stupid. And it's not that you're stupid, you just can't read because the circuits in your brain just don't function the way other people, you learn in a different manner. And if you can get past that, you're not really scared of anything because you've already gone through some pretty difficult times when you're a kid. And also you learn skills to use other people's help to get through. So when you get to a business, you use those same skills and you realize that you can count on other people if you pick the right people to kind of get you to where you need to be. It's helped me in my business. I think hopefully I put great people around me and I trust them and they can do the things and I add the value and the insights that I add. And that's what it's done for me. What was
the turning point for you? Like at what age were you able to get more confidence that you were?
I think the combination of realizing that hard work makes a difference and that I'm not really scared of taking risk for whatever reason, whether it be dyslexia or a multitude of things when I grew up. So when I got an offer to stay at ICM for $1 million. And I said to my father, you know, I think I'm going to start this company and I'm not going to take a salary. I mean, he almost lost his mind.
What are you, nuts?
Yeah, exactly. And when that became successful, and it took a long time of hard work, after that, you're learning stuff and you're growing and you're just on a groove. So
I think that I've read that one of the things you want to do at this stage of your life is to help kids who maybe don't have the advantages that you had or your sons have had. So maybe talk a little bit about that.
So I'm going to start a school probably in 18 months. I just hired an executive in California to start preparing all the documents because my kids they didn't have a dyslexic school for me when I was growing up. They had my mother, right? And she was the best teacher. But I'm going to start a school. My kids went to this, they did Linda Mood Bell in LA, and then this school called Park Century through 8th grade. And it really helped them. So I'm going to start my first school in Los Angeles. We're just going through the process. It'll take about 18 months to start the process to get to the end. And we're going to find a school for kids in the inner city that didn't have the advantages of my kids. And we're going to start them and see what happens and make a difference.
It's incredible. How did your mom? How did your mom know how to help you? It's so interesting. I'm sure she's.
I don't know if she knew how to help me. She just wouldn't let me fail.
Okay.
Right, and so
That's
that
a mother
meant,
for you. I like that.
You know, when I was crying and I didn't want to go to that tutor's house and sit in the alcove and read for 2 hours with her because I just didn't understand it, and I didn't at the time was not taking Ritalin, and I was ADHD and forcing me to do it. She just wasn't going to let me not achieve the best I could achieve.
That's cool.
I hated her at the time, and I love her now for it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah. So you started talking about the beginning part of your agencies, of your career. So this whole mailroom thing, it's a true story, I think. In fact, I think I read that you read an article about Michael Ovitz, and you're like, okay, I want to work for that guy. So tell me if that's true, but also just why the entertainment industry? I was fucking around in Paris, right? I mean, who was it?
I was going to go to school at Northwestern, business school at Northwestern. I was trying to get in, and I decided, you know, my dad studied in Lausanne, Switzerland, and I said, you know, Dad, I think I should take, you know, a little bit of time off. And my dad was incredible. He said, well, why don't you just go to France and I'll support you. When I tell you to come back, come back. He told me after about 8 months, he said, come back. It was really fun. I definitely.
I had your parents. That's cool.
Right? And he was a great man.
Yeah.
And I moved to New York, not knowing what I was going to do. And I got a job working for this guy by the name of Robbie Lance. It was a small boutique talent agency. And he represented the estate of Tennessee Williams, Lillian Hellman, and Dashiell Hammett. He represented Milos Forman, who directed Amadeus, and many other great movies. Peter Shaffer, who wrote Amadeus. Elizabeth Taylor, Betty Davis. And I had just started learning the business. And then I read that article about Mike Ovitz. And he was a 84-year-old man. He said, I'm never going to promote you. You should, after about 6 months, you should move to LA and you're going to be really successful. So he set me up with 2 interviews, one at CAA and one at this company called Leading Artists, which is now this company called UTA. And none of them wanted to hire me because I was too old at the time, because most people came in after college. And I just robocalled the head of HR. That's
300 times?
A lot more than 300 times. And finally they said, my dad wanted me to go to business school. And they said, if you can be out here, it was like Thursday, if you can be out here on Monday, you have a job in the mailroom. So I flew out, I think with my mom. I bought a car for $1,600. My dad gave me insurance for 6 months. I slept on a couch for 8, and I was making, picking up bagels and orange juice, and I was making 15 cents a mile.
Okay.
And
And you really started in the mailroom. Like that sounds like straight out of like a movie script, right?
It was the copy machine.
So you're making...
I picked up all the scripts that had to go out. You didn't send them over the internet. I copied them until 12 o'clock, was back in the office at 5. It was brutal.
That's incredible. Well, honestly, 2 things in that story. One, your parents' belief in you, which is really amazing.
For 6 months.
Well, yeah, we'll give or take, sort of. But also determination and hard work. I mean, it sounds kind of cliche, but honestly, like I'm sure you were.
I almost got fired so many times.
I was going to say, were you the best mailroom person?
No, I was the worst.
Okay, well then,
so first of all,
scratch that narrative.
Let me just say something. So you had to do coverage every weekend, and you'd had to deliver. Well, first of all, they would give you 5 scripts. You had to do. Now, again, I was dyslexic, so 5 scripts plus I would have no life. So I realized, I finally figured it out. I said, coverage does exist in Hollywood on this script somewhere.
What does coverage mean?
Like you'll read the script and you'll break it down. Here's the characters, here's the plot, here's what happened.
Like the Cliff's Notes. Sort of.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So what I would do is I was like, wait a second, somebody's got to have this. I'd call up the studio and I'd just figure out the reading department's there. Who's got the coverage? I'd pick up the coverage. I was set.
Hack.
I figured it out. I hacked it.
I consider that efficient.
Yeah. So I got through that. And then I went into the television department because the scripts were shorter. Sitcoms were 39 to 40 pages. Actually. I figured this baby out, right? And so, yeah.
Wow.
That was my life.
I want to ask you one more personal question and then your career. But I am curious, what was the very next job after the mailroom job then?
So then I went and I worked for David Tenzer, who was the head of business affairs at CAA, his desk. I was his assistant. And I learned all the contracts and what all the contracts meant in television, from a script deal to a broadcast deal to, all the different back ends.
Amazing foundation.
So I realized where the money was.
Yeah.
And really the money was in television. Mm-hmm. And then I worked for this guy by the name of Bruce Vinegar, who was the head of the television packaging business. And then on the weekends, I worked for Bill Haber because he was in the office and I was in the office all weekend having to read and do everything. And that was a year of my life.
That's incredible. Did you find somebody who could do coverage on contracts for you?
No, I figured that one. That was actually worth my.
That was worth your time. That obviously worked out well for you. One more thing, I can't move on just if I have to ask about Ari Gold. Okay, I mean I just have to. I mean that show was unbelievable. Jerry Piven, obviously, fellow Chicago.
Hopefully, all of you are watching it and continue to watch it, so it goes into syndication for me, and there's more money involved. Thank you very much.
We'll be sure to make a note of that. But okay, how accurate was that of you at that time versus you now? I'm sure you're
really going to ask that question
all the time. Well, yes, I am.
Well,
of course.
I would say there's a lot of storylines that are accurate. The guy that I told when I was at CAA that I was leaving, that was supposedly my best friend, that ratted me out, that was a true story. I didn't make calls or get calls in my therapy session with my ex-wife. That did not happen.
Good.
I probably made a call at the schools. I never used a squirt gun or whatever. But I was aggressive. Very aggressive. I'm a lot calmer now. Don't you think I'm calmer now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. It is a great show. Okay. So let's talk about, this time I can tell we have a lot to cover. So Endeavor. Okay. It was great to see the sizzle reel. Just doing my research and learning. I mean, I learned a lot about what you guys do. That's much broader than I even realized. So artist representation, about 50% of your business, but everything from content to live things, right? As we talked about, professional bull riding, UFC. So maybe just give us an overview of Endeavor. And also then I want you to tell me about what it's like being a public company. Not that I have any experience with that, but.
Well, listen, we looked at the business when we started in 1995 and said, distribution was going to disrupt the old models. And we kind of went on a path to kind of get bigger because we thought we needed to just to capture more value and create a bigger company. William Morris was the first target. It strengthened our movie and television
William
business.
Morris was the first target? So, yeah.
Strengthened our movie and television business. added a theater business, added a book business, added a music business, which were verticals of where the entertainment business was going. And that the distribution models were going to change. Then when ICM became available, that got us into the sports business and representation side, and the events business, and a couple other business licensing and physical production facilities. So we were almost, and the food and the fashion end of the business. They also had an academy for high school students that is a separate business. And that got us into almost every vertical of where entertainment was. One of the last ones we didn't have was art. So I made a point to go after, you couldn't buy Basel at the time, so I bought Freeze Art, which is second biggest art festival. We've now expanded it. I think it's actually the most important art festival out there right now. So when you look at the business, we were in every vertical of entertainment where people want to be. We had a marketing business underneath it. And then what we said was, all of our business now in the representation business, and we have the platform to do that. There's a lot of things that we represent that if we owned, we actually could cut some costs and really increase, because we're a global company, we're in 87 offices, increase the value through our distribution platform, and mainly in sports. That's when we went after bull riding, the UFC, et cetera. And then off of those businesses and the representation of sports, we realized that the sports betting business was a new vertical that was growing in content. So we started IMG Arena, which is in the data and the video streams. And then we just bought, hopefully to close soon, OpenBet, which is in the rest of the content mix of what betting is. And so when you think about the business, and then the last piece we bought was the experience business with On Location. So we all know where the experience economy is growing to. So when you think about our verticals, there's betting, which is the TAM in betting is about $78 billion by 2024. The experience economy is, I don't know, $40 billion business and growing. Movies and television is, I actually don't know.
I think I've heard you say the TAM for content is infinity.
Is infinity.
That's good.
And then, when you own a sport that is growing as fast as UFC is and bull riding is, you're kind of, you're the commissioner and so that's kind of the mix.
So no small ambition. I mean, so your ambition is to really be very fully integrated.
I think we're the best positioned company as it relates to where entertainment and media and sports is going in our four verticals. And so there's a couple other we have our eye on right now, but yeah.
And then talk to me about the going public, which is fairly new. I mean, I know you started once and then you pulled it and came back, and now you get the joy of doing the quarterly earnings calls.
Which we were just talking about.
My favorite question is when the operator comes out and says, "There's time for one more question."
Yeah, exactly.
My favorite moment in those calls.
What is it like? As somebody said to me, and we were just talking back there, when your earnings are good, it's a great call. When your earnings are bad, not a great call. After 1 year, I figured that one out.
You figured that out.
Yeah.
But so why did you decide to go public?
Well, I thought we had no problem raising money and buying companies. I just thought that there was a lot more opportunity. Two is we had a lot of people that had signed up for the bet, had equity. Yeah. And one of the conversations I told everybody is that we were going to go do that. So I like to live up to my word. Yeah. And people that have been with me for 27 years. And I just thought it was the right time to do it. And then I thought there was a lot more opportunity for the continued vision that we have for the company. Right.
And maybe a little bit on the pandemic. I know we're probably tired of going back in time on that, but obviously.
It's still around.
Well, I know it is. Well, as Ezekiel tells us all the time, and he's right. But I would say, you guys obviously, all businesses were really dramatic, and people, more importantly, in businesses affected, especially your live things. But it was pretty cool how you figured out a way to do live sports, and maybe talk a little bit about that, because it was a very nimble.
Well, listen, I've got a great partner in Dana White, who, we had a deal that we had a contract to fulfill. He said, we're going to put on live events. And he said to me, get me an island.
Get me an island.
I mean,
Okay.
what the fuck does that mean?
I guess it means.
And so, really, what does that mean? And so, one of our partners that has been one of our big investors for a long, long time, Haldoon from Abu Dhabi and Mubadala, called me up and said, do it on Yaz Island. And we just figured out a deal. And as bad as COVID was for the UFC, it was incredible because the sport was, with bull riding, we were the two first sports back. College kids were watching.
Right.
Our fan base has continued.
Is it more popular than boxing?
More popular than it's ever been. Our ratings are through the roof. And and we've added betting to it and et cetera. And it was the greatest and a horrible time.
Yeah.
It was an incredible moment for the sport. And Dana did, nobody else would have done what he did. And took the risk that he took. And, you know, I was just there to support him and he did everything.
So, and obviously just staying on UFC for a minute, is one of your bigger acquisitions and investments. So
biggest.
It is the biggest. Okay. So talk about, is that a model you're going to replicate, or what is it about that strategically that attracted you when you made that decision?
Well, you know, we're a global company. We have a licensing group, a marketing group, direct-to-consumer business, betting, sponsorship. And they were a business, and I realized also, you know, what we could do internationally through IMG on our sales internationally, and what I think we could do domestically in that deal. We got caught because when we bought it, right when we were going out for our rights, Fox decides to sell to Disney. So those two are out of the mix, ESPN and Fox. AT&T is trying to buy Warner Brothers. And then the former president tries to kibosh that deal. So they were out of the mix. So there wasn't a lot of room for me to sell this product. And we put all the chips into the middle of the table. That was a bad 8 months for me. Really bad, actually.
How did you figure it out? What'd you do?
Well, the dam broke because the Disney Fox deal went through. AT&T and Warner's got situated, and then with 3 months left, we got into the heated conversations because they knew they needed it for their platforms, and they're going direct to consumer. But actually, I got really sick. Because of all that pressure, and it was a lot of pressure. I got a thyroid problem, which I don't have anymore. But that was more risk than I'm pretty cool under. That was bad, really bad.
Okay, well.
But it's better now.
It's better now, right? Well, and you're probably the healthiest person I know. So for you to get sick, I mean,
I'm not sure emotionally, but physically right now.
Okay, fair enough. Well, let's kind of move, let's stay on this for a second. Sports betting, another huge area, right? So what is it that you guys are doing? Who's your competitors, and what are you bringing to the party to say?
Sports Radar is a competitor. We're the B2B answer to those businesses. So we're not DraftKings or any of those other 888 or any of those. We just provide the underlying technology across the platform for odds, player wallet, content with, et cetera, integrity, data, streams, all that. We're a global company. We do it for 487, I think it is, bookmakers across the globe. And I hate to clue you, sports betting is a really good business. And now that with our OpenBet acquisition, we'll be the only end-to-end user in the space.
Okay, and I don't know a lot about sports betting, so let me ask.
I think a bunch of people here will.
A lot of people do. So I know. So I'm probably not asking the right questions about sports betting. But is crypto a part of this? I'm just curious. Can people bet in cryptocurrency?
Well, like DraftKings has a crypto offering.
Okay.
They paid us a lot of money for the UFC and other things. But in our solution set, it's not.
Yeah.
On the payment side, I'm not sure that it is or not yet. I don't believe it is, but probably eventually it will be.
Yeah, I would think so. What is your favorite sport to watch?
I love the UFC.
You love the UFC?
I love bull riding.
Have you ever gone bull riding?
No.
Okay.
But, not only do we own those, but we have at IMG, I'm a sports fanatic. We have 150 sports we distribute, from snooker to darts to badminton, table tennis. We do not do
pickleball. As I told you, pickleball.
We do not do pickleball.
Soon coming attraction.
NFL, NBA, tons. Soccer.
Cool. So let's talk about, I'm really on the artist representation side. I have two things. One is I love history, and I'll tell you that William Morris is just an amazing asset. And I'm curious, what is your favorite historic legacy, William Morris, an artist that was represented by William Morris?
Elvis.
Elvis, yeah. I love Elvis.
I have actually,
Elvis.
I'm not sure his first contract.
It's really cool.
Framed.
Mm-hmm.
And then my head of communications here, Christian Muirhead, got me for my 60th birthday. He got me from Albert Einstein a letter he wrote to William Morris about his work during World War II. Am I saying that right? Yeah. And I have that framed next to Elvis.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
So it's an amazing.
The legacy is incredible.
Yeah, the legacy is amazing. So let's talk about kind of how you think about artist representation. Like, what criteria do you use to decide who you're going to represent or not represent? For example, I'm sure everybody wants to be represented by you guys.
When we first started, we didn't have any clients. So when we first started Endeavor, but now it's in almost every aspect of the business. So there's book people. We have the largest speakers agency with the Walker agency, people that just do voiceovers, social media people from Addison Rae on down. We do 38,000 music tours a year, actors, writers, directors. I probably am forgetting something that I'll get in trouble for. But, everybody has their point of view. It goes into it, like if you're in your talent group, kind of who you think you can change their life.
It's just no surprise that you're doing 300 plus calls a day. I mean, do people call you for personal advice? Like, hey, what role should I take this role?
Well, I don't represent everybody on the list.
I know you have people that.
But there's over 300 agents that do it. I get involved with a lot of clients and a lot of situations, but I have my specific clients that I still represent.
Mm-hmm. Who do you represent?
No, it's everybody from Dwayne Johnson to Sam Levinson to Conan O'Brien to Mark Wahlberg to Charlize Theron to Marty Scorsese to Adam McKay. I mean, it's a long list. So,
what's the toughest deal you ever worked on for somebody?
Making the UFC deal for myself.
Okay, for yourself. What was the funnest deal you ever worked on?
The UFC deal.
Okay, you are nothing.
No. I mean,
consistent.
Listen, I have one of the craziest times was. Mark Wahlberg was nominated for an Oscar for The Fighter. And as he's driving to the Oscars, I'm telling him that he's going to do the movie Ted with an animated bear and a first-time director. I mean, that's kind of screwy.
Yeah.
Right? So, there's thousands of these stories. But that was I was like, really? That's what you're talking about? Yeah. And so it was, but Greg Daniels convincing him after 6 episodes of The Office, and didn't pick it up for 22, to do another 6 episodes, and he wanted to stop it. And if they would have stopped it, we would have never had The Office.
Wow.
Or Larry David and Curb. I have
Larry David and Curb. Yeah,
I have lots of them.
I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. I made the mistake once of watching an episode with my mother-in-law, and my husband thought this was a good idea to watch, because we both love the show. And let's just say it was the last episode I wanted to watch with my mother-in-law. And I just remember her turning, because if any of you have seen Curb Your Enthusiasm, it goes a lot of places. She turns to my husband like, Mary likes this show? She was very perplexed. I was like, okay, note to self, note to self. Let's step big picture and talk about just the entertainment industry trends. And as I said this, I've heard you talk about the total addressable market for content is undefinable, right? So it is a golden era for content, and everybody's in it. And there's just so many amazing things. So it's great to be in the content creation business and also the disruption business. And I know I've heard you talk about the history of media and communications and how it just keeps getting, disrupted by innovation. And you're a fan of innovation and whatnot. So how do you, and everybody's in it, right? From the tech players to all the combinations happening. But as you think about it for yourself, it's unlimited opportunity for your company, I imagine. But what are the factors you're most focused on as you look forward?
Well, I mean, I think, and I've said this before, I think that when I started in 1995, there was X amount of people that made content, and there was four places to distribute it, really, in television. And yes, there was the same amount of 4 studios. You take it 27 years later, the same amount of people are making content, and now you've added social, gambling, NFTs, yes, but the amount of people distributing content has grown exponentially. And when you think about it, and you now look out 3 to 5 years, and people are talking about 5G. If you really think about it, 6 Wi-Fi is coming. So when 6 Wi-Fi comes, it's going to be more powerful than 5G. And each one, and when you think about, here's how I think about the business. You have the largest car company in the world never did 1 bit of advertising. That's Tesla. He only tweets, or he's going to own Twitter or whatever. He only tweets. The biggest artist in the world right now, Beeple, who we represent, he's been on social for X amount of years. So you have this highway underneath the world of social that Dwayne Johnson can go to his 178 million fans or whatever. And you have now the ability to get to those people to buy a piece of your content. We've built a company that the record labels and the studios are giving up a little bit of their ground, where they used to have great ears in the music business. They used to pick movies in the movie business, pick television shows. Now they're just buyers. They're not developing, and they're putting it on their system. Everything else now is happening outside the system. And with 6 Wi-Fi coming, I'm not sure those artists aren't going to go direct and own their whole, because money, you can get money. There's a lot of money in the world. And then they can go to their audiences, and they can put it on a piece of distribution that you can pick up.
So does that cut you guys out?
No. They need us actually more than ever.
Okay.
Because we represent authors, we represent writers, we represent directors, we represent their co-stars, and we have marketing, we have licensing, and I think that's where, and none of it's yet defined, that's where the business is going. And I think actually we're more valuable for our clients and more valuable because of where this is going, in my opinion.
Right. Well, and most artists want a piece of the action all the way, their
more
brand,
than ever now.
Right? More than ever.
Yes.
What are some of the best examples of that, do you think?
Well, now, we were just actually talking about that. You know, one of our fastest growing areas of the business called Talent Ventures, where artists are getting involved in brands, putting sweat equity in, getting equity for it, and realizing the value through their social channels to market those brands. We're helping with our platform. We're also taking equity positions in brands and using the platform to do that. And that's where artists, Dwayne Johnson has his tequila. Ryan Reynolds just did Aviation Gin. And it's Fenty Beauty. I mean, you can just go down all the artists.
Right.
Naomi Osaka has a sunscreen.
Yeah.
So it's at all ends of the business. And that's where the business is going. And that's going to also come back to content as it relates to music, especially with NFTs right now and tokens. It's going to happen in the movie business. It's going to happen in the television business.
We certainly see that in beauty. Fenty is a great example. Yeah. Rihanna, we just launched that at Ulta Beauty. But it's kind of like some celebrity, quote, endorsements don't work. And now what I see, the ones that do work are ones that the artist is really vested.
Correct.
And really, I think, picking things that they care about, right, that are meaningful and authentic.
Yeah.
So,
and that's where, and I think when they do their movies, that's going to be the case. And I think they're going to be able to go directly to their fans.
right.
And then own the majority of it as opposed to now getting it just.
So for anybody here who's in the business of creating brands or businesses, are there any things you see that are particularly hot? I guess you just mentioned food, alcohol.
There's not a vertical that from thorough body to skincare to alcohol to beauty to just regular fashion that we're not in with our clients.
Right.
It started out about 3 years ago with about 6 deals. I think we're well past 50 now and growing.
Okay, last question on technology and industry, AI. So it is interesting. I was just reading an article this weekend in the New York Times about kind of the ability to like write scripts basically with artificial intelligence. Well, what do you think about that? How do you?
Well, you tell me when AI creates Larry David's mother, and we'll win. I read that same article. I'm not, I'm open to anything, and
I think it's frightening. I mean, actually, just to me, the notion of things being written by machines. I mean, some of that obviously is going to be real. And how do we think about?
Well, they're writing now, but they're writing weather reports and stock reports and et cetera. I'm not sure comedy's a pretty hard thing to get.
It's a little subtle.
Yeah,
I would hope so. Okay. I'm a big fan. I've always been a big fan of the actual going to a movie theater. And in fact, again, in retail, people thought brick and mortar was dead. It is not dead if you make it relevant. It depends, right? But what do you think about the future of now that you can stream anything at home, right? How do you think about the experience?
Well, when you think about it now, so I don't think family movies are going to work for a while. I think parents are still scared. I think it eventually will work. And actually, Disney figured out that you can build a franchise on Disney Plus. And I think adult movies, people will say, something, I got a great system at my house. I'll watch it. When you look at horror movies and movies for 13 to 25, 30-year-olds, they're working. So Batman worked. The Sony Marvel movies worked. The difference between going to a theater, because I had this fight with an analyst, and going to a sporting event. A sporting event's here and gone. A movie, you can actually wait. But I don't think the kids want to wait, and they're going to the movie. They're going to the movie business. I think it will slowly come back post-COVID. But those movies for kids are actually working still. But the two others, adult movies, during the Oscar periods and family-oriented stuff, I think there's still a level of protection that is happening. Right. And that people are staying home. And it's starting to work for the streamers. So let's shift gears to a couple other areas. Let's talk a little bit about some, I guess, more social issue, current events, things like that. I guess, to me, it's interesting to see, like, as a CEO of a company today, a public company, any private company, it's more challenging than ever in terms of the stakes are high. You feel the same way?
Well, I do. I mean, it's like, we have many constituencies that we need to speak to, and it's all very public. And it's, you may want to stand for certain things for your employees, but not want to get in the middle of politics and policy. But again, Disney, that was also a big article this weekend, but I've been tracking that. It's a tricky time for them, for that.
Think about what happened in Florida. So Bob, I don't think handled it great. He'll admit that he didn't handle it great. But Brian Roberts didn't get touched. And they're both in Florida.
And Brian Roberts is CEO
head of Comcast. And he's got his, his park down there. It's just interesting. It's just coming at you from all angles. And, whether it be the Me Too movement, important. Black Lives Matter, important. I think now you have COVID. I mean, it's a nonstop barrage.
So how do you think about it in your business? Sort of like how you think about when you speak out or when you don't. Not especially now you're a public company CEO, but do you have pressure from your employees to say, "Hey, take a stand"?
We all do.
Gay rights in Florida.
We all have pressure, and you just have to kind of kind of have smart people around you, going
Mhm.
back to being dyslexic, that know smarter things than you, and you
Right.
have a conversation about what you can and can't do. You set up certain things inside the company as it relates to what clients do, what people do, and how to react to them. And we've done most of it right. We're not perfect.
Mhm.
But it's a difficult thing to wade through now. And hopefully we do the right thing most of the time. And when we screw up, we admit it and do better.
Mhm.
So
And you mentioned, one of the things that was interesting is McKinsey did a study a year or so ago. I think they called it Black in Hollywood, but they quantified what's left on the table by the industry really not representing
a lot of money.
talent. A lot of money, $10 billion. And
Yes.
it was about, Black-led stories, but especially Black talent. That's not necessarily on screen, but also behind the screen or in leadership positions and whatnot. So maybe talk about how you guys
So
navigate.
we have this whole thing called Change Hollywood, which we've been involved with. We also did Change Hollywood in the fashion world too. And we're making as many changes as we can in that space as it relates to that unrepresented people to make sure that they have the ability and a voice in our community, because it's very important. There's a lot of money, but that's not the reason to do it. It's the reason to do it is because it's right.
Right.
And so we have a whole team surrounding this in our foundations, and to have sustained change, not just like the announcement. And we're committed to it. And good thing is, I think we're not just us. I think we're starting to have an effect on it. But you can't do enough for where it started and where we have to go.
Right. What do you think are some of the areas that are
underrepresented people from LGBTQ, you have to start there. And in the audition process at every level of production, all of those things that we are attempting to do and helping in our productions at Endeavor Content and through who we represent and what they're doing.
Got it. Okay. Hey, one other just sort of current topic. You mentioned somebody on your board who's in the middle of a possible acquisition, which Elon Musk is on your board, right?
Still, yeah.
And the Twitter, what do you think? Does Twitter end up, who knows, right? Does he end up buying Twitter? What's your crystal ball on that? And what do you think are the implications?
I have no idea. I haven't talked to him about it. He is a force of nature.
Yes.
I'm not sure. If I was somebody who'd asked me, because I have no idea, does he want to do it? I can't really tell right now. I have no idea if he wants to do it, doesn't want to do it. I've never seen him say something that he doesn't want to do, whether that be building roads underneath, and chips in your head and et cetera. So I wouldn't bet against him.
That's fair to say. That's fair to say. What do you see is the sort of next chapters for Endeavor? What are the things you're focused on most and excited about most in the future for your business?
I'm doing right now, we're doing everything that the four verticals that I've always.
Yeah, you've got a lot going on, right?
But there's always more to look at that are in the verticals. And when we look at M&A, we look to kind of build moats around our businesses. So in our academy business, we bought this thing called NCSA, which is kind of like the LinkedIn for high school students to get into college through sports. In our gambling business, we had Arena, we bought OpenBet. In our events business, we just closed the Madrid Open, which is a tennis tournament in Madrid. So, I'm a curious guy. I'm hungry. I don't eat a lot. So there's a lot more to look at.
There's a lot more to go after.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's incredible what you've done already. So, and again, you have a lot on the plate that you're in digestion mode right now, I guess, too, and some of that. Let's kind of spend just 10 minutes or so on just some fun closing questions, just to
hit me.
not really lightning round, but we can call it that. Okay. One I already asked you. I was curious about your favorite historic talent. Okay, Metaverse. Have you guys filed any patents in the Metaverse? Talk to me about what you see in the Metaverse for your business.
Well, right now, we have made a lot of investments in that space. So we made an investment about 3 or 4 years ago in Dappler Labs that has UFC in it, a bunch of our clients.
So wait, the investment was in
this thing called Dappler Labs that has Top Shot with the NBA, us as the NFL, I mean, the UFC. We've made multiple other investments with other VCs, whether it be Andreessen Horowitz in the space. We are looking at all of our assets and seeing what could play possibly in the metaverse.
How do you see it playing out? Like, I mean, just it's going to happen, so we need to have a presence there. And
well, we're going to figure out whether we can do sports there or other things. Not sure yet. We're just analyzing it. There's no definition to kind of our time frame to it.
Right. Okay. What do you think we should be watching right now that maybe we're not watching? What's your favorite thing to watch?
So I just finished the last episode last night, Winning Time.
Winning Time.
By Adam McKay, which is about the Lakers. The Andy Warhol doc is incredible. We Crash. I just finished
I'm hooked on that.
Last episode.
Anne Hathaway is amazing in that.
Incredible.
Incredible.
What else did we just watch?
Did you guys produce The Lost Daughter? Did you?
No, I don't know. I don't. So those are the ones that I'm watching right now. So the Andy Warhol one is incredible, but all of them are incredible.
Okay. What is if you could pick an all-time favorite movie? I know that's hard.
No, it's not that hard.
It's not. What is it?
The Godfather 1 and 2.
Okay.
Annie Hall.
All right. Okay.
I got my 5. Wait a second. Wait. Okay. Annie Hall.
Okay.
Harold and Maude. What are you talking about? Shampoo. Taxi Driver. I mean, those are the greatest.
Those are the greatest. You got more? Just keep going. You're on a roll here.
If my brothers were here, we'd right now get into a fist fight over this conversation. Rahm and Zeke and I would be beating up Rahm over the Deer Hunter. I'd like to see
that, actually. Over what?
Over the Deer Hunter.
Because that would be his favorite?
No, that would be our favorite.
Okay. And he wouldn't agree with you?
He wouldn't agree with that.
Okay.
So that's a couple of them.
Okay. All right. What would Zeke and Rahm pick on that question?
I actually don't know, nor do I care.
Well, you could ask them that sometime. You don't care.
Oh.
Well, that might take off my next question. How often do you talk to your brothers? No, I know you talk to Rahm pretty often. Although he's in Japan now. How's he enjoying Japan? I think he's
loving Japan.
Yeah.
I think he's enjoying this end of politics.
It's a little different.
Yes.
It's a little different.
I think he likes being in this end of politics right now.
What is are you playing racquetball anymore?
Nope.
To see that you were
pickleball.
professional.
I'm playing pickleball now.
He's just humoring
and golf.
me on the pickleball.
Yeah.
Just give us one health and wellness tip, because you are, an amazing icon of health and wellness. All right, 2.
So today was, as you can hear my voice, today was a starve day. So I just had my first meal. I ate my last meal Sunday night. So I do that at least once a week. Once a quarter, I do 48-hour fast. Sometimes we do a little bit more, but we'll stick with 48. I do an 18-hour fast every day other than that. And then...
That's a lot of fasting.
Yes.
When do you eat? Or what do you eat? Well, that's right. That's probably a longer story than we want to get into.
Story. Okay. And then I do an ice bath every day.
Wow. Okay.
It's up to you guys. I don't care. You guys are wrong.
What's the benefit of the ice bath? You could jump into Lake Michigan and get an ice bath.
I will tell you, it gives both the fasting besides its health benefits and the ice bath besides its health benefits. And you guys tonight should go home and read about it. It does give you mental fortitude, which I think as we get older, we all lose.
I believe that. I mean, I
look forward to seeing you in the ice bath.
That were physical. Probably not going to happen, but I've done some things that were physically challenging.
There you go.
Like giving birth 4 times, and then when I read,
but you forgot that.
You don't forget that. But then when I ran the Chicago Marathon and I was on the last 5 miles, and it was, that's the point where you're just like, I've never done this before. But I was like, okay, if I could do that, so you have something like, if I could do X, I could do Y. Yeah. So I don't know, childbirth, ice bath. You could probably do them together, I guess. I don't know. I wouldn't recommend that. Okay. That's probably enough about me. So what do you miss about Chicago? I mean, you've been gone for a
I'll
while.
tell you exactly what I miss.
Tell us. All this fun?
I miss Wiener Circle Polish hot dogs.
Oh, Wiener Circle.
And I might be going after this to pick them up. I probably won't, but I'd like.
Doubtful.
I know this is going to be controversial. I miss Uno's Pizza.
Okay.
And don't tell me any other pizza joint. Just don't do it.
We're not going to do that. No.
And I miss apple pancake at Walker Brothers.
All right. Now wait, do you miss?
And I miss the Cubs, of course.
Well,
I watch every game. I
Chicago
do.
White Sox?
No.
Okay, well, I'm a White Sox fan, so, but you don't miss those foods because you're not here. You probably don't you miss them because you probably wouldn't eat them if you lived here.
No, if I lived here, it would be really difficult not to eat them. I love them.
Okay.
Love.
Okay.
Lerv, as Woody Allen once said.
That's awesome. Well, listen, I have to just say this has been a treat.
It's been a treat, too.
Extraordinaire to have you here tonight,
Thank
Ari.
you
It's been
very much.
really fun.